Welcome to an all new Nomad Live. I am your host, Nomad. Before we get into the show, and thank you everybody for coming to the show. Before we get into the show, I want to make a quick special announcement. Nomad Live is moving into Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central. So set your notifications for that. And also, Nomad at Night is moving into Sundays. It's been on Sundays, but we're going to stay in that position for now. And all of these schedules are off-season schedules, and they are flexible, contingent on the game during the season. So things may change, but for now, during the off-season, we will be on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central and on Sundays at 8 p.m. Central. So get your notifications ready and be prepared for those shows, and we welcome you guys when you come in. We will introduce our special guest, Mr. Alex Shapiro from NBC Sports Chicago. Alex, man, how's life, man? How's life been treating you, man?
Life is wonderful. I'm glad that OTAs are in full swing. We got real football to talk about. I mean, the offseason is fun. Speculating and wondering who are the Bears going to draft, who are the Bears going to sign. All that is fun. But there's nothing like covering real football. You know what I mean? So life is good.
Wow. Hey, man, you gotta get me a job, man. I need a job. You're making all that money over there at NBC, man. I'm struggling for scraps over here at Nomad Network. I need a job, man. Hook me up, man.
Listen, if we're hiring, which I don't believe we are, you'll be the first person I tell.
How about that resume as soon as I can, man?
Love it.
But hey, man, it's a bunch of Bears fans that are anxious to hear everything that you know about the offseason and the OTAs and what you've been watching and what you've been seeing. Before we get all the way into a specific player, I've been hearing a bunch about how the energy is different and how the tone is different. I heard Coach Wani say it. I've heard Adam Hogue say the same thing. Johns, I mean, all across the board, I keep hearing the same thing. Is that conducive to what you've been seeing so far?
So it's year 2 of Eberflus's regime, of the Eberflus program. And I'll say last year, things were pretty high energy. I mean, he runs quick practice. He runs a high intensity practice. So I've continued to see that. What I will say is I think things are a little crisper. And I think that might just be Justin Fields and the offense year 2 with Luke Getsy. My opinion, now we've only seen 2 practices, and they're guys running around in shorts, not in pads. So it's not a whole lot to really, really assess. But I think I'm seeing fewer footballs hit the ground. And I will say the DJ Moore thing, again, running around in shorts. When Justin Fields and DJ Moore connect already just a few weeks into this thing, it does look different. But in terms of energy, I thought they were high energy last year, especially compared to Matt Nagy's practices. I'm not, saying Matt Nagy ran lackadaisical practices or anything like that. But Eberflus's energy, Eberflus's intensity just seems to be like another level.
You know what? I knew you'd go there first because I keep hearing that too, man. The whole thing with the DJ Moore and Justin connection, I guess in these 2-minute operations, and it sounds really clean, sounds really good. Is exactly listening to Adam Hogue as compared to last year when it was really, bumpy and it was up and down during this time last year from what he was saying. And to hear that now, I mean, that's a welcome report coming from somebody who's had eyes on the field. So let's put a pin in that for just 1 second. Have you been in the locker room? Have you had a chance to interview anybody one-on-one?
So I have done one-on-one interview. I interviewed Cody Whitehair, talking about his transition back to center and his snap, because he's got, kind of a unique snap in the NFL, and building that rapport with Justin Fields, all of that. So I'm working on that story. I've got the quotes. I've got the interview in the can, transcribing, going through it. So that'll be upcoming, the actual article. But he's the only person I've spoken to one-on-one yet. And that's because at this time of the year, the locker room is not open to us. The locker room opens up, I want to say, if memory serves, during training camp. So veteran minicamp, OTAs. Basically, what happens is PR gives us a list of 3 names and says at the beginning of the day, hey, these are the 3 guys you're talking to. So it gives us a little time to formulate some questions and plan our day. But if you want to talk to anybody beyond the people that PR brings to the podium, you have to put in a request. So I put in a request for Cody Whitehair. As things turned out, Cody Whitehair also appeared at the podium that same day that I was doing his one-on-one. So he's the only guy that I've gotten a chance to talk to one-on-one so far.
So that would be sometime in July when you guys get complete access to the, right?
Yes. Late July is when things open up in terms of in the locker room.
Okay. Well, I know a bunch of meathead fans like myself want to know exactly when you're going to be able to get a microphone in front of these guys' face. And hey, I'm looking forward to it myself. I ain't going to kid you. I love those because you get them in a space where it's kind of, they're around their teammates and you can get them kind of open because they're loosening up. They're not sitting in front of a podium and you can get a lot out of them in those moments. So I do always look forward to you when you guys get in there. It's a good time for us as fans to really get a sense of how they're really thinking and how they're feeling. And you can gauge kind of how their teammates are getting along. I mean, one thing I haven't heard is a bunch of beef coming out of the locker room. I mean, I haven't heard. And for guys that are full of testosterone and these are high energy guys and I haven't heard, and I'm gonna knock on wood right now, and I don't want to hear about any beef that's going on or guys not getting along. It seems like everybody gets along just fine. Is that accurate with what you've seen so far?
Yeah, in terms of what I see, I do think that is accurate. It's funny. So I've covered the White Sox extensively for, being in the locker room for an extended period of time, seeing how they act over a winning streak, see how they act over a losing streak. I've done that with the Bears too. I've been in the Blackhawks locker room a few times when they were really good, but that was on a much smaller scale. And what I will say is that the Bears locker room is kind of unique in that over the 10-game losing streak, things weren't so despondent as you would imagine they would be during a 10-game losing streak. Obviously, they're upset that they lose. And after losses, directly after losses, nobody's happy. It's a pretty dreary place. But the next week, they bounce back. They're having fun. They're playing music. They're having a good time. Last year, other locker rooms that I've been in, during a losing streak, you can feel it. You can feel that in the locker room, the losing streak kind of weighing on people, for lack of a better term. It's just, you can kind of sense it. I never got that sense with the Bears last year. And I do think it's because they really do enjoy each other's company. I don't notice tons of clicks, right? Guys are milling about. Guys are having a good time. So, yeah, I have never gotten any inkling that there's a certain click or people are getting ostracized or that people are beefing. Now, are those things happening behind the season? There's totally a possibility, right? We're only in there for, 40 minutes a day for 3 days. So there's a chance that things are happening behind the scenes that we're not really picking up on. However, in terms of just what I've observed, the vibes I pick up on, I was surprised that towards the end of the year, as we got into January, late December, that things were as chipper as they were in September, considering the type of season the Bears had.
That is to me, when I'm looking from the outside looking in, that's as much a testament to the coaching staff and finding guys that fit, and that will gel with the other guys in the locker room as much as it is the guys that are tasked with, hey, we need to work together and we need to get along together. We're all in the same situation and we need to stay on a string. It's as much as a testament to the coaching staff, the GM, and everybody involved with that staff, that is the energy you're feeling out of the locker room. And I think that's not to be sneezed at because Go ahead, Alex.
No, I was just going to say, I agree 100%. And I think you also see that on the field, that Eberflus put into place this program, this HITS program. And while maybe there wasn't 100% buy-in immediately, right? We actually know that there wasn't 100% buy-in immediately. But as the year went on, they did buy in, right? And you didn't see the team quit. You can tell when an NFL team is quitting towards the end of the year. We've all seen it. I did not see that. Maybe, I forget what it was, the Lions game towards the end of the year that got really out of hand. Maybe they weren't playing 100% throughout that game. But beyond that moment, I really thought the Bears took it to whoever their opponent was, no matter the circumstances. And I didn't see that quit. And you're absolutely right. It's not only a testament to the players, because obviously they're the guys laying their bodies on the line. They're the ones playing the game. But it is a testament to Matt Eberflus, his coaching staff, the front office, for building this culture. They talk so much about culture. And to me, that is visual evidence that, yeah, actually that culture is taking hold.
Man, I see it from a distance, and that's one of the things I harp on. And it's really important, being an ex-football player, that you have that continuity of everybody getting along and people aren't at each other's throats and, beefing behind the scenes and then playing it off when the camera's on. You can feel that kind of stuff because it'll spill out at a certain point at the wrong time. All the time it's going to be at the wrong time. But, man, I really do like what I'm hearing, everything you're saying so far. But I better get some of my co-hosts in here before they tear me up when the show is over. I'm missing. Someone put Samo on the screen, please. I can't see him down there. I'm pretty sure they got a few questions for you before I ask you to empty out your notebook and tell me what details you're seeing. You got anything for Alex?
Hey, Alex. Good to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on with us. One thing I just want to talk about is, the last 2 years of us being with the Flus and Poles regime, we now know what Bears players look like. And for the new regime, they're long, athletic, fast, and I'm just wondering, from last year to this year, you've seen the players, you've been around these guys on the field. Has you seen anyone who just looked like they just put in hella work over the season, over the off season? Their bodies have been transformed. They're looking a little quicker on the field. Any of that? Because that's one thing that bothered me in the previous regime. I think like Roquan Smith was just one of those players to me that I never saw his body change, from when we came in as a rookie to when he left us. And I think that's something that stands out.
But to be honest, no, I haven't. No. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. The Bears are really specific about the weight they want guys playing at. They give them these ranges, and they're kind of narrow ranges, saying, hey, we've looked at your body type. We look at what we want you to do. We look at your strengths. We look at your weaknesses. We put that into our analytics database or whatever. Their trainers look over all that stuff from a very analytical standpoint, and they spit out a number and they say, we want you playing at this number. So theoretically, that's actually a pretty good question. That's a good question for me to ask. I like that. If anybody's number changed from year 1 to year 2,
right?
Kind of interesting. Not sure, but it stands to reason that maybe the numbers wouldn't change, and because the numbers haven't changed, that's why we don't notice a big bulk up or a big slim down or whatever, what have you. So
not so much.
not so much.
Even Travis Gibson, I heard he bulked it up a little bit and got a little stronger. You didn't see a difference?
I haven't noticed, no. But take that with a grain of salt. I'm looking through my binoculars. The defensive ends and defensive tackles usually practice far away. The guys that practice close to us in indie drills are typically offensive line, running backs, wide receivers. The defensive guys are usually on the other side. Take it with a grain of salt. He might have added a few LBs. I'm not super observant. Haven't noticed a thicker Travis Gibson.
Okay.
But no, truthfully, I haven't noticed.
Well, man, Triple R, I'm pretty sure has an interesting question for you, too.
Well, thanks for joining us, Alex. Pleasure to have you. I guess my question is pretty basic. It doesn't have to do with the Jalen Johnson drama or nothing of that. But who has, in the brief time that you've been out there in the OTAs, who has stood out to you to the point that you had to recheck your roster to check a number like, who is this again?
That's a great question. And first of all, I know you guys both thanked me. Thank you for having me. Like, this is fun. I love getting together with people like yourselves, talking Bears. Like, this is great. Like, this is fun for me. So it is truly my pleasure to join.
Well, hey, come back.
Yo, sure thing. There is a guy. So I'll go with one top level and one kind of towards the bottom of the roster. So one is Tremaine Edmonds, number 49. I actually have to look at my roster because I'm not super familiar with all the new guys' numbers quite yet. But here is number 49. It's one thing, and this is actually something I wrote about today. Like, when you look, oh, he's 6'5", he's 250. You go, oh, obviously that guy's big to play linebacker. That's a big guy. And then you see him and you're like, whoa, that is a big guy in the middle of the field. Like, he really does take up a whole lot of space. And I know, the Bears tweeted out that video of him picking off PJ Walker. Like, that play from my angle, because I was kind of behind the play, it was like he blocked out the receiver. Like, I couldn't even see who he was targeting. That's how big the dude is. So that was kind of a whoa moment for me, where it confirmed the things we'd heard about the size and how that size plays in pass coverage, especially. It's like, oh yeah, now I get why Flus and Poles wanted this dude in the middle of the defense. Like, that's a big guy out there. The other one whose name and number I wrote down over and over is Aaron Cruikshank, 84. I believe he was an undrafted free agent. Here, let me fact check myself.
Yeah, he was
UDFA.
Yep.
UDFA from Rutgers, I think.
Yeah. Wisconsin by way of Rutgers. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know these guys' full history yet. Like, it takes time. But he was a dude who, especially in rookie mini camp and then kind of early, it's like he just kind of made play after play. Oh, there's Aaron Cruikshank again, making a catch in the middle of the field. Here he is catching another pass where, I don't know, his number just came up over and over and over. We're talking about guys who are competing for a job, to be quite frank. They're competing for that 53rd spot or maybe a spot on the practice squad. But he was a guy who caught my attention.
Nice.
So you would, I think he's gonna. You know what? Let me get to the Tremaine Edmonds conversation, because I want to ask two questions actually, because I would like to know from your vantage point how much space he's able to cover after snap, and was he forcing the quarterback to make a different read based on where he was at? Did you notice anything like that?
I can't really speak to the forcing a guy to make a different read, just because, things happen fast, especially from our vantage points. It's like, it's really hard to tell if a guy is looking off or looking somewhere else. And I'm not, I don't have the luxury of being right where, Andrew Janocko is to see where his eyes are. You can kind of tell, but it's like always easier to answer these questions when you can look at the tape. The game happens and you watch a play and then you watch the replay on TV and then you're watching the tape afterwards and then you really have an idea. When it's bang, 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 it's kind of hard to tell.
I get it.
So can't really speak to did he make, it was PJ Walker who threw the pass. I can't speak to if he made PJ Walker look off or anywhere, but I can say he does move and groove. Like, he's big, he's fast. Like, he covers space, he covers ground. It's noticeable. In run defense, the way they're doing run fits right now it's a lot of jog through pace. Just because it's early in the year, it's early in the year. They want to get their blocking gaps all sound. They want to get their run fits sound. So they're doing things at a jog through. And then when they go to 7-on-7s and they do some pass installs, it's a little bit quicker pace. So I can't really speak to the run defense and the run fits properly just yet.
They don't even get to wear shells right now, do they?
No, we're talking pennies and shorts right now. No shells. I know I said I'm excited because we're watching real football, but it's not really real football.
Not really,
right.
But you know what? 7s-on-7s is exciting and 11-on-11s are exciting. And, I know you discussed the 2-minute drill. They're doing situational stuff. They do end of half, only a few seconds to go. So get the quick out and then we're kicking a field goal. So they're repping those things and that's valuable and that's interesting to watch. But to bring it back to Tremaine and bring it back to the pass defense, I have gotten a sense of, oh yeah, he's recognizing what's happening. He's getting to a spot very quickly, and then he's putting himself in a position to make the play.
Okay, you know what? Everybody I know everybody's watching this show live and everybody's going to watch the show on demand. You're giving them everything they're looking for, man. It's just you're basically painting a picture for them who can't be there, and it's valuable. You're a valuable asset, man, to all of us, man. I really appreciate you being here. I really
very
do.
glad. That's so kind. Such kind words. Thank you.
Nice guy, man. Hey,
From the heart.
I think there is a running narrative on Twitter and other social media platforms that Noah Sewell could be the edge rusher that everybody's looking for. Is he or is he not taking reps at edge rusher, or is he taking traditional reps at linebacker?
I haven't noticed. I'm going to be honest. I haven't watched a ton. He's been playing on the second field. So the way the Bears have it right now, they're playing on two fields at the same time. They have the ones and kind of other guys mixed in on one field, and then they kind of have the twos and some of the other rookies, threes, etc., on another field. And even the Bears are going to be mad at me for saying ones, twos, threes, because they are so adamant that right now it's not a depth chart, it's a reps chart. Right. They're doing that truly so that more guys can get more reps, right? They want to see as many people do as many things as possible. When I've watched Noah Sewell, when I've tuned in, he's only been playing linebacker. I've never seen him line up at DE. And that is something we asked when Noah Sewell got to the podium. We're like, yo, so you're going to put on 15 pounds and become a defensive end or what? And he was like, no, we've had no conversations about that. I'm here to play linebacker. Ask coaches the same question. They're like, nah, he's a linebacker. So in my opinion, Noah Sewell is competing for Sam starting reps. I think that's maybe where he can crack the lineup early on in his career, but the Bears are really high on him, and you can see why. I mean, the dude can hit. We're not watching that now because they're not playing live contact, but if you watch the tape, dude can tackle. Last year was a downturn in his play, in his production, but they believe in the player they've seen before, and he does bring a little bit something extra with his ability to blitz, and that's not an easy thing to do, right? It's like kind of a knack, a feel to time it up, to make sure you don't get blocked or how to shed a block, to get to the quarterback. You know, that's not an easy skill. He's got that knack. And that's something the Bears missed when Roquan Smith left. Roquan Smith was really good at that, right? Like, you dial up Roquan Smith, he had a pretty good chance of getting home. So I think that does add a little interesting thing if they're in base and they want that third linebacker out there or whatever, what have you. We'll see. We'll see if they, the DE thing is interesting just because I think everybody is wondering who is going to take significant defensive end pass rush snaps on this team. But as of right now, it looks like Noah Sewell is more linebacker than defensive end.
You know what? Before because you guys in the chat, did anybody that has questions for Alex, we'll try to get him in before he gets out of here. But we have a couple of things that we want to get to before you open up your notebook. Anything else that you have on there? Now I just lost my train of thought.
Just one more question for him, Nomad, while you try to grab your remember what you wanted to say there. Running backs. We have a lot of new faces in that running back room this year. Haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything or heard anything about the running backs over the past couple of weeks of OTAs. Has anyone stood out to you? I know anyone speed or, size, anything.
Well, Travis Homer was not participating the first OTA that we witnessed, but he was back this time. And let me check the notebook. Yeah. And this time, so second OTA, Deonta Foreman wasn't participating. He was present, but he was not participating. Now, again, going back to they're not even wearing shells. They're wearing shorts and pennies. The run fits are at jog through. It's hard to tell what's going on, like in terms of actual when they're installing run plays. But in individual drills, you can kind of get a sense. And in that regard, I get a sense of Roschon Johnson's strength. When they're doing like the hit the pad drill, Roschon like hits the pad and moves the coaches back. And this is something I talked with David Walker about, the running backs coach. Just like, yo, you got a lot of new faces. As an outsider, this is me talking to him. I'm like, as an outsider, I thought Khalil is going to come in and take over this starting job. Meanwhile, you've added two veterans. One of them is Deontay Foreman, who was starting last year.
Mm-hmm.
The other is Roshan Johnson, who everybody loves and everybody's so high on. So what's the deal, man? And he gave me that same line. Like, we don't have a depth chart right now. We have a reps chart. And Khalil Herbert is going to get the first rep. And after that, all bets are off. Like, we are going to let the competition play it out. And that is the number one competition I have circled. That's it. Maybe the third cornerback job, the second outside cornerback job. That's interesting to me a little bit. But really, it's the running backs room, because I do think anybody can win that. You know, they are so high on Roshan. I'm pretty high on Roshan Johnson. When you watch him, he's a physical runner. I think he brings a lot of David Montgomery to that game. Deontay Foreman does that to an extent too, and you know what you're getting in Deontay Foreman. And we all know what Khalil Herbert can do. Like, he's a one cut, shake and bake, I'm gone guy. He's a home run hitter, which is something you really want your first and second down back, right? If you can go get 8 yards or 7 yards or what have you on first down, you're doing great. And Herbert brings a lot of that. So I am very, very curious to see how all that is going to shake out. But it's arguably, let's take quarterback out of it. You know, Justin Fields is kind of in a league of his own, doing his own thing as the leader of this entire team. When you look at position group strengths, I put running back right there towards the top of the list in terms of strongest units on this football team.
Yep, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely agree. Looking forward to the competition.
Trip, I know you got something else.
Well, this is more of a fun question. As far as going to Hallis Hall and as a reporter, are you strictly working, or do you have any fandom in the NFL, like, hey, Bears are my team, or whatever like that?
It's funny how it kind of changes. So, to be totally honest, I grew up a Bears fan. You know, I am from Northbrook, Illinois. Grew up watching the Bears every week with my dad. You know, it's something that I really cherish. My mom, like, whole family, we're all Bears fans. When you cover it, it changes a little bit because it is a job and it is work and you have to be objective. You know, I try and not let any previous fandom color my commentary. You know, I don't want any of my history of, grew up loving this team to affect how I write about them, because I do try and be objective. I do try and shoot straight. And sometimes that means being critical, you know, and I try and be fair, you know? So all of those things, it kind of changes how you approach a team. I remember I was working in the newsroom. Here's another thing, just like to bring you behind the curtain a little bit more. I was working as a video editor at NBC Sports Chicago before I started working on the Bears beat. And during the double doink game, that wild card loss, obviously, as a fan, that would be a gutting moment. You're probably sitting in shock. What the hell did I just watch? What the hell just happened? When you're working in the newsroom, there's no time to have emotion. There's no time to think anything like that. All you can do is like, we've got to go now. Like, we've got to get this video out. We got to start writing up the content. The content machine has to be moving, it has to be cycling. So it's like, you don't really have time to be a fan in certain senses, because you got to be working. You got to be pumping out that content so that fans can enjoy it. Fans can read it. Fans can react along with us in real time. So yeah, my relationship with the team has kind of changed a bit in that sense, where now really the only team that I root for is like a real fan is USC football. I went to the University of Southern California. And that is where I pour all of my heart and my soul into. USC football is my heart and my soul, just because, you know, the Bears it's work now.
You know what, Alex, to that point you just made, you know how the Bears have made a point to bring in homegrown talent. I feel the same way about media and the reporters. I think there's a value in you being from the crib, which you are from the crib, you from here, so you our guy. So I mean, I know that in all seriousness, I know that you have to be fair and you have to be objective, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form do you have to look for problems. And I think too many guys in media feel that it's their obligation to find some way to be pessimistic. And I don't think that's the way to be. You know, I just don't. And I do appreciate your energy. I told you that before as I was inviting you onto the show, man. I do appreciate your energy to a great deal. Every time I see you on TV, it's refreshing to see you on TV. So, man, don't let me get going, man, because I'll get carried away. So, what do you have in your notebook that we haven't talked about that you need to let these fans know about?
Here it is. Here's the notebook, and it is courtesy of the Chicago White Sox.
Oh,
When I started, this is leftover from the 2022 season. My first day on the beat, they gave me a nice reporter's notepad, which I still use to this day. Let's see. Here's what I got. The one thing that really caught my eye at this second OTA that we were allowed to watch in this second group of 3 was a little 2-minute drill that the Bears ran. Now, this week, the Bears did more indie, more run fit, less 7-on-7, less 11-on-11. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a ton of that to watch, not as much as there was the first time around. But this 2-minute drill that they did, Justin Fields was hitting DJ Moore. He did it a couple times. And that's something that I've noticed going back to the first round, where it's like, oh, this connection is developing pretty quickly, you know, again, and that goes back to my conversation of things just look crisper sooner than this year than they were last year. Last year, I feel like footballs were hitting the ground, which is expected. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's OTAs. Guys are figuring it out. Guys are learning what spots to be in at what times, right? But it's like, oh, they are really working on 1 to 2, and it's working. And then there was this really nice touchdown pass to Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis got the touchdown on a nice little out route, good breaks. So that was neat. And then in terms of other guys, other things I've noticed from the first set of OTAs to the second set of OTAs, I've noticed Tyler Scott seemed a little bit more clean, a little bit more consistent. The first week, rookie minicamp included. So I'll throw rookie minicamp in the first OTA. It was like, oh yeah, this guy's, he's a rookie. He's got stuff to learn. We'll see how far he can go. On Wednesday, he was making some plays. He was working with PJ Walker a bunch, but he and PJ Walker got together for a few consecutive completions where it's like, oh, Tyler Scott getting a little bit momentum here. So now I'm going to be interested in, okay, now what does he do with that? Does he continue to build on that, or is it kind of going to be a step back? Again, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys go like this. They're rookies. It's really tough. They're learning a whole lot. But we'll see. Is he going to be somebody who just ascends and all of a sudden he's the no doubt wide receiver 4 on this team? Or is he going to be, fighting for reps alongside Dante Pettis or Equanimous St. Brown, Velus Jones as the year goes on? And that Velus Jones, I just said him, that's another guy who I'll bring up who has worked with the ones. He's gotten involved. I don't think I've seen him drop a pass in the 2 practices and the snaps that I've watched. I don't think I've noticed him drop a pass. And he looks just as fast as ever. So it is nice to see Velus coming back, getting involved, getting the ball in his hands. Obviously, they got to do it when they put the helmets on and they do it for real, because that's something entirely different. But I have noticed an uptick in Velus Jones at OTAs versus Velus Jones at OTAs last season.
That is great information.
It absolutely is.
Didn't see that one coming. Before we get into any of the questions from the chat, and please, Nick, get those ready. As far as the O-line rotation, the 1s and 2s, who do you see lining up where?
All right, so here is how they're lining up the starters right now. And I'm going to be honest, I have not watched the other fields offensive line. Just haven't. But there's not so much of a rotation, really, for a variety of reasons. So the first OTA that we watched, it was Braxton Jones left tackle, Jatiri Carter left guard, Cody Whitehair center, Tevin Jenkins right guard, Darnell right tackle. And then they were mixing in Lucas Patrick at some left guard snaps behind Jatiri Carter. The second OTA that we were able to watch, Lucas Patrick was present but not participating. So There was no rotation. It was just Ja'Tyre Carter. And like I said, I wasn't watching the other line just because you learn so little from watching the line as it is that if I was going to tune into the line, it was going to be the starting offensive line. Ja'Tyre Carter and Lucas Patrick in there both had moments where they looked like they were getting spun around a little bit. Cody Whitehair, I was really interested because he's got that unique snap to see how that went with Justin Fields. And overall, I think it's been solid. Haven't seen snaps on the ground. Haven't seen snaps going way over his head. Seen one snap that kind of fluttered and went to the side. Justin Fields just plucked it out of the air like it was no problem. The play wasn't affected. So those things have been good. And then, yeah, you got the sense that Darnell Wright can really move in space like people say, like we've been told. And then Braxton Jones also, we know that guy can move in space. We saw that last year when they were running to the outside and had Braxton Jones as the lead blocker. Dude was dominant, right? Dude would run guys over and then look for more work. Not worried about that. He can still move and groove like he was. So that's at least how the offensive line has lined up.
So did you, just really quickly before we get into these questions, I keep hearing that Ja'Tyre Carter was taking reps at center. And also that how clean is Cody Whitehair playing center right now? Is he playing really pretty crisp and not making a lot of mistakes?
Looked crisp to me in terms of Cody Whitehair. Like I said, there was that one snap I saw that kind of fluttered, but overall, when I was tuned in watching it, looked good to me. I didn't notice anything. And I'm not watching the snap every time. There are different things that I'll focus on as the day goes on. For instance, if we have Tyreek Stevenson lined up against Tyler Scott, and I notice that's how they're lined up, I'm tuning in. I'm like, I want to see who wins Tyreek Stevenson versus Tyler Scott. When we have DJ Moore versus Kyler Gordon, or DJ Moore's on the field, period. I want to watch that. So I'm not watching every snap. Along those lines, I didn't notice Ja'Tyre Carter taking snaps at center. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but I at least didn't see it.
Okay. You know what? Man, Alex Shapiro, man, let's get Alex's questions up here, man. Great detail, man. Let's get him some questions up here because people want to know a few things. Thoughts on Kyler Gordon playing nickel? How's he looking out there?
I think it's good. There was a DJ Moore touchdown where Kyler Gordon was covering him, and that was the note. DJ Moore touchdown, Kyler Gordon covering him. However, it was an incredible pass and catch by DJ Moore. I thought Kyler Gordon actually played really sticky coverage, had him pretty well defended, and Fields just threaded the needle, and Moore made a phenomenal catch. So it's just like, you got to tip your hat to the guy. And that's what you want to see, right? You want to see your guys play great defense, and then DJ Moore and Justin Fields are a little bit better. But I think it's going to be good for Kyler Gordon. I think he can be strong in run defense. He can stick his nose in there. There were missed tackled issues last season, but he improved as the year went on, right? I think as the year went on, he got better and better. And I think focusing on one position, he said it himself, focusing on one position will help. There were times last year when he said playing outside and playing nickel was a lot, and his brain was going 1,000 miles a minute, and he was thinking too much and not playing fast. And this is going to allow him to play a little bit more slowly. So I think having him focus on the nickel not only helps him, it helps the whole team.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, let's get the next question up for my man Alex, man. Let's get another one up there.
Tyler Scott. All right, so we talked about this a little bit before. Tyler Scott, early on, it was shaky. I'm not going to lie. During rookie minicamp, he dropped a couple balls in individual drills. It's like, you don't want to do that. Individual drills, you're supposed to catch 100% of your passes. If you're putting a ball on the turf in indies, not great. So it's like, well, again, not because it's the first practice of this man's professional career and his nerves are probably going crazy. It's understandable, but you notice it, right? And then, the route running, it seemed like he was getting beat by defenders. You know, when he went up against Tyreek Stevenson beat him 100% of the time. Like, I did not notice Tyler Scott beat Tyreek Stevenson once. So you go, okay, this guy's got a ways to go. To Tyler Scott's defense, they're running a lot of slants. They're running a lot of curls. They're running a lot of outs and ins to get the ball out of these guys' hands quickly. We're not seeing a lot of deep balls at that stage of practice, and that's what Tyler Scott does best, right? He's a deep ball catcher. But then on Wednesday, I noticed the uptick. It looked like he was more comfortable. It looked like, oh, he's creating separation a little bit more easily, settling in a little bit, and then consequently making plays. So we have seen that uptick for Tyler Scott, and now it's where's the ceiling? Where's the ceiling? Is he going to continue to build on this, or is it going to be an up and down thing?
Wow.
Yes.
Does Alex have any news on possible players who may get cut and who the Bears may be targeting?
Nah, I don't have any information on that in terms of like who might be on another team's cut bubble. I think it's a little early for that too. You know, that will happen. You know, we've just gotten into OTAs, maybe after OTAs. I think there have been a few cuts, right? Cam Dantzler, I think, got cut. The Commanders made a few roster moves, but I would be purely speculating if I threw some name out there.
Okay. Do you think there's too much being put into not getting an edge rusher and what is that? And not the upgrades to the interior?
Like we're focusing too much on them not addressing edge instead of, hey, they actually address the interior. To a degree, maybe. I mean, edge rusher is a huge hole as it stands. I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect DeMarcus Walker and Rasheem Green. These are nice rotational pieces, and they'll play important roles, but you still want to have, you know, more of a slam dunk, 3-down defensive end out there. I don't know that the Bears have that on their roster yet. So it's a hole, and I thought the Bears were going to address it. They had opportunities to address it, right? They added a wide receiver. They added a running back. Those were areas of strength, but they couldn't pass up the talent at that slot. They added another defensive tackle in Travis Bell in the 7th round. They added another safety. They didn't necessarily need another safety. So they had opportunities to add defensive ends. They didn't do it. But they had so many holes on this roster, this offseason. They were never going to fill every single one of them. You know, they could have focused on DE, and then we'd be saying, whoa, they needed that third cornerback. What are they doing? You know, they got 2 cornerbacks. They took Tyreek Stevenson. They took Terrell Smith. Could they have not taken Terrell Smith or maybe not taken Tyreek Stevenson and gotten a pure pass rusher instead? Yeah, absolutely. But again, if they had addressed one thing, you're ignoring something else. And again, they just had so many holes. There was no way they were going to address everything. No matter what happened, I think we would have been talking about how could they have not addressed so-and-so. And the way things worked out, there was that big run on defensive ends at the top of the 2nd round. The Bears opted not to trade up to grab one of them. And because of that run, because of the way things shook out, it was defensive end that they didn't address.
You know what, man? I know that your time is limited. How much time do you have? You have time for a couple more questions?
Yeah, we can do a couple more for sure.
Okay. Let's get the next one up. Because these guys.
Oh, there it is. Are Chicago media negative just to be negative? No, nobody is trolling out there. Listen, people got to call like they see it. People are being fair, or you know, they're trying to be fair. They're trying to be objective. Nobody has an axe to grind, and nobody is being negative just to be negative. It's reasonable to be down on this team. Again, they were the worst team in football last year. That's a fact. They were 3-14, the worst team in the NFL last year. They made some improvements. They should be better. They're probably not competing for a Super Bowl, though. You know, like that kind of overnight change, that's tough. There are reasonable questions about Justin Fields. Do I think Justin Fields has what it takes? to be a superstar? 100% I do. Unbelievable playmaker. Love his arm. Does he need to improve his processing? Does he need to improve his decision making? Absolutely. Like, we need to see it. He's got to prove it. And for people who have covered a lot of football and seen a lot of really incredible prospects fizzle out, a dose of skepticism is completely understandable and, probably a good thing. Like, there are things I am skeptical about the Chicago Bears, things that I'm like, I don't know, this could be a real problem. If things go poorly, this could sink the whole ship. So no, nobody's being negative, just being negative. People are calling them like they see them. And sometimes that includes, like I said, a healthy dose of skepticism.
I get it, man. Now, I will disagree with this. I think there is a white blanket or two out there that really likes to really aggravate. They know that the Bears fans have PTSD, and they're going to – these fans are going to fight for their team and the players no matter what. And it's like sometimes you get a reporter or two out there that just can't stand the fact that, hey, this is a bad franchise. They've been bad for a long time. Why do you guys keep rooting for them? And what is bothering me? And you can kind of tell in their energy. Not saying any names, but they are out there.
I guarantee you, no reporter begrudges a diehard fan because they know that the diehard fan pays their bills. We love the diehard fans. We love that people eat up Chicago Bears content because, again, that's what keeps us employed, So no reporter begrudges those people. But sometimes they think, listen, you think it's all cheery and you're looking through rose-tinted lenses. You see this team going 12-5 or whatever. Those reporters might also think it's their duty to give little reality check because highly unlikely this team is going 12-5.
Yeah. I ain't gonna wrestle with you about that. We'll say that for another show, but because
there goes that job.
And
No, I love this stuff. Here's the thing: like, this is what it's all about. This is what we love, also, like sports debate. And here's the thing: this is nice and civil. It's not mean. Sometimes on Twitter it gets mean, and that's no good. Like, there's no reason to call anybody names. People have opinions. People debate the opinions. I believe this because XYZ. I believe that because XYZ. It's a beautiful thing. That's why we love sports, right? And then what happens? We watch the game and we see what happens. That's what's so fun about it. So, everybody loves this stuff. Good, healthy debate is fun stuff.
Nice. One more question for me, Alex. Man, I know you just talked a lot about the transitional football. Excuse me, not transitional football. The 2-minute drills and all of those different aspects of the game. In the past, have you seen so much work on situational football as you've seen with this regime? It just seems like you guys write and speak about that a lot. Like, they're working on different situational football incidences and so forth. So it's just like, I've never heard this being worked on so much in the past, but now it just seems like it's a thing. And do you see that, being something that could add to our success going forward?
Well, I've only covered Nagy practices and Eberflus practices. And there does seem to be an uptick in the situational stuff under Eberflus. Now, Nagy would be sure to do stuff like they would always rep low red zone towards the end of the week. They would work 2-minute, they would work end of half. But Eberflus, from what I can recall, what I can remember, it seems like Eberflus does it more. He makes a point that at least once a day we're doing some sort of situational thing because he believes, and probably rightly so, that those big critical moments are when games are won and lost. Possessions at the end of the half, getting the 3 points or preventing the 3 points at the end of the half. That's big. I do believe Eberflus does run situational stuff more often than not, and he does mix it up. It's not always 2-minute. Like I said the other day, they were doing this. It was, I want to say it was like 6 seconds on the clock. So they had 6 seconds to get a few yards and set up their kicker for a kick. And then they would actually kick it. They'd be like, sorry, Cairo, like the offense didn't get it done, and now you got to kick a 56-yarder. Or, you know what? Congrats, Cairo. You're lucky. They got a pretty decent one, and now you're kicking a 49-yarder. and and they would play it out. They would legitimately play it out. Those things are really cool. And they work low red zone. They work kind of red zone drills. They do a lot of third down. We watch them do a lot of third down. So they mix it up, the different situations that they work on. And I think it's good. I think it's smart that they focus on those situational drills.
Timeouts and all, huh?
Absolutely.
With the timeouts and everything, huh?
Yeah. Yes. So they will rep it where Eberflus is a part of the drill and he is banging the timeouts. Yes.
That is more important, and I'll just take personal privilege and from experience. That kind of stuff is more important in a game than almost every rep you take and all the different play calls you're getting and receiving. Those situational drills, knowing how to operate in the moments that really count, because it usually, it's 2 yards in the cloud of dust. You're fighting for yardage and you where you're positioned on the field, it may come down to that most times in most games. You know what I mean? If you got a tough team and you're a tough team, the situational drills will pay dividends in the long run. So I definitely get why they put such an emphasis on it. Of course, a defensive coach would be emphasizing that because he knows, most games come down to a touchdown or a field goal, and you need to know how to operate in small, short spurts. And so, yeah, I definitely get that. So, hey, Alex, man, your knowledge and your understanding of what to look for on that field and what to report out to the fans is invaluable. Will you come back to Nomad Live with your copious notes?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me. It was a ton of fun. I'm very curious. You say talking from personal experience. Are we going to find out some years from now that Nomad is actually like Wilbur Marshall or Mike Singletary? Like, I'm very intrigued by the true identity of Nomad. Can you guys help me? What do we know about Nomad? Is he an 85 Bear?
He was a DB.
He likes pizza.
Ooh, DB loves pizza.
DB loves pizza. Yep.
Charles Tillman?
After
Charles, is that you, Peanut?
After the next Super Bowl, I'm going to do a press conference, man.
Mike Carrier?
Alex Brown? I don't know.
Hey, Alex, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on the show and being a good sport about everything. Man, it was lovely. I know the fans are going to appreciate everything you had to say. It's what these guys, they live for, the little nuggets that you can bring to us and put on the show and tell them what you're seeing and paint that picture. It's invaluable, man. So just remember, while you're out there, you're having a good time with the other reporters, man, take copious notes. Little stuff. They love it.
I got 3 pages, man. I got 3 pages from one day of OTAs. So, yeah, I'm out there taking notes. And truly, again, thank you for having me. It was a blast. And thank you to the fans. We do it for the fans, right? Like, yes, it's a good time. We, like you said, we enjoy ourselves with the other reporters, watching practice, all that. But like, we do this for you. We like bringing this information to you. We like opening this window so that you can know what's going on at practice and keep up with the Bears as best you can. So thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Hey, Alex, get your plug out there, man. Make sure people know how to find you and what you got going on.
Sure thing. So you can read my stuff on NBCSportsChicago.com. Keep it with NBC Sports Chicago for the Under Center podcast. We got the audio thing. Wednesdays at 5:30, we've got our TV episode, which is awesome. And then my Twitter handle is right there at Alex Shapiro NBCS. And yeah, we just have fun. We like to bring you fun Bears content. So we hope you enjoy it.
My man, Alex Shapiro from NBC Sports Chicago. Tell Ken Davis he better get on here before we wrestle. I'll find him in a bar. We'll wrestle.
I'll text him right now.
Hey, I appreciate you, Alex, man. Hey, be blessed out there, and I can't wait to see you back on the show again, man.
Sounds great. Thanks again for having me. Be well, everybody.
Alex.
That was good, man. How'd you guys like that?
He's a good guy, man. I like Alex a lot. Like I said, he's a straight shooter. He is a straight shooter. He does give his objective opinion. So he's one of my faves. And I'm not just saying that because he was on the show.
Yeah, he's fair, and he was, honest about not always can you be positive or optimistic. Sometimes the truth hurts. Mm-hmm. But I did like one of the tidbits that he brought up about somebody that I brought up, Crookshank. You know, he out there doing things.
Oh yeah.
As I said, you know, he's a UDFA that has the opportunity to maybe take Pettis' job.
Man. Hey, you guys in the chat, man, and I know you guys still have questions. Put them in the comment section, and I will relay those questions to Alex Shapiro. And the next time I get a chance to talk to him, he'll let me know, and I'll bring it to you guys. I guess Sunday on Nomad at night. So whatever you guys can think to ask him, I will relay them to him, and I will bring them to you guys on Nomad at night on Sunday. So don't forget to set your notifications.
Right. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Everybody, I'm gonna see the faithful in here. We got Cornelius, my guy. What's up, Cornelius? We got Leo Factor, Bears Truth, King Buka. What's up, my brother? Who else we got in there? I see Dylan, the faithful, my guy J2K. What's up, brother? We got to get you on here, bro. Glad to see you guys. Happy to be back. Larry T is new to me. Welcome. Bring a friend.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff.
Share all that good stuff.
It's a great thing, man. Just knowing that we getting the kind of support that we thought we would be able to get, and some people are coming that we didn't expect to be here, and that's great. Just knowing that the people support us. Hopefully, we can keep producing more, just better content and getting more guests and really giving you guys what you're looking for, because that's the purpose of us being here, is to give you great content. And so hopefully that fills your stomach. I do have a guy that I want to talk about that's in the camp right now, a receiver that we got, a UDFA called Pettis. There's a bunch of people who want to know who this guy is and what he's about. He's wearing number 38 and like, what the hell? That means when you're wearing number 38 as a receiver in a training camp, you stand up, man, you're gonna have to work your ass off. I mean, excuse my language. This ain't Nomad at night. This is Nomad live, so I apologize. But you got to work your butt off, and it's an uphill climb for this guy to be able to make the roster. But watching him on film gives me vibes of Allen Robinson, and I've said that before on this show. He really does have some Allen Robinson traits. I mean, he's not fast, he's not quick. He doesn't have anything off the line of scrimmage that make you go, oh, watch this dude. No, what he does at the point of attack, and I mean by attack, catching the ball and going to grab that ball, I think it's pretty elite for a college receiver. He's had really strong hands, man, and really good body control, and he's very strong. And so I don't know how much you guys have studied this dude, but if you know anything about him, fill us in, man.
No, I agree with you with the comparison to Allen Robinson. And if you look at this picture right here, that's what he does, man. He attacks the football. This guy somehow ends up open, finds a way to get himself open. He has a nice size frame. He's not a huge guy, but he knows how to use that frame. And when the ball's in the air, he's going to attack the ball. He's going to come down with it. He has some decent speed. It's not Tyler Scott speed, but you know, he has enough speed to be a good possession receiver in the NFL.
And he is also very aggressive at the point of the catch. Mm-hmm. He attacks the ball, catches it with his hands, in traffic, around people, above people, through people. When that ball is up in there, it's his. And Cornelius is saying that he's never seen a receiver with number 38. You know, that's roster camp. You know, 120 guys out there, you know, and he's on the bubble just trying to get a number 17 or something.
You know, that's what I see in him. The minute I start watching his video, I was looking for the speed, never found it. Look for the quickness, never found it. But I see a bunch of 50-50 balls and him coming down with them. 3rd and 8, I see a bunch of back shoulder fades, him coming down with it. You'll see it in this video. Look at it. It's very strong hands, man. Mm-hmm. It's very strong hands.
Does anyone know what his 40 time was?
It's probably like 4.7, 4.8, man. But it doesn't matter.
No.
He's not gonna be quick off the point of attack, man, getting off the line of scrimmage. But when that ball is in the air, that's when he's dominant. Like right here, back shoulder, right there. Bring that back one more time, Nick.
I saw something that said he was 6'3" and ran like a 4.4.
Bring it back a little bit more. Let's see him at the point of attack, that back shoulder fade.
But obviously, that's not probably correct.
Mm-hmm.
And considering he wasn't invited to the combine, he probably has no official numbers.
I think.
See, right there is when he's really good. When that back shoulder stuff and those 50-50 balls, this guy has great body control, and that is, I've seen that enough time on his tape to make me pretty clear that he is he's different, man, and I can see what they saw in him.
Wait a minute. Now this is gonna blow your mind right here, Nomad. Pitts ran at 4.37 at his Delaware Pro Day.
That's what I thought I saw.
BS.
4.37.
Ain't no way, man.
He just doesn't play with that speed, I can see a guy, running a nice 40. We've seen that all the time where guys have great 40 times, but you don't see that speed translate on the football field. And maybe that's something that he just needs to develop.
King Booker World said that music sound like the beginning of a Richard. I told Chris.
Yeah, like,
what's wrong with a Richard Pryor movie? What's wrong with a Richard Pryor?
Look.
I told Chris, man, what the hell you doing putting jazz music on a football highlight?
Music is jazz is football, baby.
Shit, that was more like your 70s porn music.
All right, we got somebody asking me a question. Wait a minute, let me put that back up there. Nomad Claypool takes a step along with Velus and Scott contributing. How good can this receiving group be when you add the fact that we got Mooney and more? Dude, on paper right now, as of right now, I don't know that there's a better receiving group in the NFL other than what Cincinnati has. I think, and I only say that because they're qualified and they played together and we've seen the results. But other than that, on paper, there's no reason why this group can't be as dangerous or more dangerous than that. I think even more because they're fast. I like this receiving core a whole lot better than what he has in Cincinnati.
Well, then you get Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, they're fast. They're fast. Now you want to get into that whole conversation about the speed and who's the faster set of receivers. That's a good question. I think we got that.
I think we have the speed and we have the diversity. I think that's what makes our receiving core stand out. We have the big guy with the long speed in Claypool. We have the guy with the speed that can stretch the field and, get open on some quick routes as well in Darnell Mooney. And we have a guy in Moore that can just do it all. He can take the top off of the defense. He can work underneath. He can hit those short comebacks, and he can pretty much do everything. And then we have the other guys who coming in behind them, and Velus Jones, who I just think needed to develop a year or so. I expect him to have a much better season this year. And we got Tyler Scott, who we know is a burner, who I heard Dave Wanistad talk about and rave about today, who said he was catching everything in practice today, and every time he caught a pass, he made a guy miss. He's like, it was really impressive to see. He was like, the Bears need to get that guy the ball in this season, even if it's on special teams. He just saw something in him that made him speak out about him. I think the Bears have speed at every one of those, at every position from 1 to 7 in the wide receiver room. And that's going to be a problem for teams, man. Speed kills. If you use it the right way, you can stretch a defense horizontally and stretch a defense vertically, and then, work underneath. So I think, like Nomad says, on paper, it looks great, but we have to put it together. It has to happen on the field.
Trip, you got anything? Because I want to answer this question right quick.
Go ahead.
Who's the odd man out? Pettis, Velus, or EQ? And that's just like asking me who's my favorite baby. I love all of them. But no, I think one thing I will say this, and you heard Alex when he was on the show, and I keep telling people this, everybody likes to piss on Dante Pettis. Yeah, he had a few drops this year. But every time you turn around, this guy's making plays. He's always getting open. And you heard Alex say, they hit Dante Pettis a couple of times. You know what I mean? Every time you turn around, this guy's making plays. And you can't keep poo-pooing this guy, man. To be honest with you, the Bears want to be, and I've heard, I don't know exactly which player said this, but I think I heard a player say that running the ball is our identity. When you know that, you hear from the player that is out there at practice telling you that running the ball is our identity. The first thing you have to think is, okay, the receivers, are they good blockers? And so when you want to throw EQ to the Wolves, that's going to be kind of hard because he's probably the best blocker they have at receiver. So I don't know. When you want to throw Dante, I know Velus ain't going nowhere. I can tell you that right now. If you want to hear that, forget it. He ain't going nowhere. He's not going to get cut. Imagine that dude at Detroit. If he got cut, he's tearing our behinds up. So we know that.
I agree with you.
It's either EQ or Pettis. One of them.
I think it's EQ, man. I think it's EQ is going to be the odd man out just because the only thing that that makes him stand out is his size. And, and that size gives him that ability to block. All of the receivers have to block. That's just a no-brainer. Every receiver is going to be responsible for blocking. And we can't just keep him just because he's a good blocker. I think Pettis has a good rapport with Justin Fields. They said in this last practice, Fields threw 4 touchdowns. 2 of them went to Moore, and the other 2 went to Pettis. So they have that rapport, and there was talks of, Pettis may have been injured last year or had some nagging injury that, prevented him from being 100% last year. And this year he may be a little bit better. And we know that he's a good route runner. So I think EQ might be the guy who because he doesn't have the special teams value. I think he might be the guy that's the odd man out.
All I know is Velus ain't going nowhere. He just ain't.
No, he's not. He's not.
He's just too explosive. He can make too many plays. He can flip a game around with one touch of the ball. I know people have their feelings about where he was drafted, when he was drafted, how many times he blew games last year. Yeah, the rookie stuff is real, man. He was out there, and there's another thing I heard in the pressures this week. I heard Alan Williams, and I can relate this to Velus Jones, and just understand why I'm getting at when I describe this. You heard Alan Jones describe Kyler Gordon talking about his RPMs aren't so high, right? Did you see that in the presser? He's talking about what he's trying to say is this guy was stressed out. They stressed him out because they moved him around in so many different places, gave him so much information, and then put him out on the field. So he was thinking more than he was reading and reacting. And so the stress level was really high with Kyler Gordon. And I knew that once Kyler Gordon got enough reps and the information kind of was ingrained in him and he didn't have to think about it as much, his keys, his checks, and the separation of the receivers and trying to recognize what routes they might run out of those sets. Once he got that and understood that and seen enough of those reps, he became settled in the second half of the year. Same thing I would say about Velus Jones. He was stressed out. A lot of information, a bunch of play calls, a bunch of checks. You got to know where to be here. If you're supposed to block here, are you supposed to run a route here? All those different things. Each rookie has his own bandwidth and his own ability to be able to absorb it all and be able to revert it out on the field and give you results. I think it just took Velus a while. I think it took Kyler a while. It takes most rookies a while You get a rare one that can come in and really play at a high level, given all the information they're being peppered with. And so, in relation to the Kyler Gordon and Velus thing, I expect him to be a whole lot better. You just heard him say he's not dropping balls out there at all. You just heard him say that, didn't you?
Yep, absolutely.
So expect improvements, man. So, hey, man, do not write that guy off. I will tell you that one more time. Do not write Velus Jones off. I think he's going to be a huge factor this year.
Absolutely. I think he deserves it too. He deserved the opportunity to grow, man. You know, he was selected, third round by the Bears. He deserves the opportunity to develop, man. He wasn't a finished product when he got here. We know that, you know, in college, he was even, it took him a while to develop in college. You know, he had a great year at Tennessee, but when he was at USC, he wasn't playing as well, you know, so it took him a little time to, you know, kind of figure things out. And maybe that's just the same thing that's happening here in the NFL. Once he figures it out, though, he's explosive and he's a dynamic player. He's a weapon. That's what he is. He's a damn weapon. Excuse me. This is Nomad Live, not Nomad at Light. But one other thing I want to bring up. Like I saw what J2K said there about, you know, we did sign EQ first. We signed EQ early. They rewarded him. And I think that what it said to me was that it wasn't for his value on the field as much as it was his value in knowing the offense, as maybe as a coach on the field for the young wide receiver room and guys in the room who, you know, he was probably helping out. And because I think that was something that stood out last year that they talked a lot about. You know, he knows every position and where people were supposed to be. He's the only guy who's played in this offense with Luke Getsy prior to, you know, I think Lucas Patrick as well. But in that wide receiver room, he knows everything and he can also even help out the coach. Now, what I was thinking, though, is are Pettis or EQ possibility for the practice squad, maybe? I don't know.
I think they're after, what is it, your third year in the league? I don't think you're eligible anymore.
I thought they changed the rules to make it like veterans can now be on the practice squad.
That's a good question.
But my question is, if you're a 26, 27, 28-year-old veteran and you're battling for a spot on the practice squad, you know, as organizationally, do I want to put a 27, 28, 29-year-old guy on the practice squad, you know, as opposed to bringing in a UDFA or a younger guy who hasn't reached his peak yet?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what?
I'm with you there.
We can carry on this conversation for a good while, man, because there's going to be an interesting decision that's going to have to be made late in camp, or whether or not we keep this guy, that guy. We'll hopefully everything will play out the way it's supposed to, and we'll keep the guys that we need. But let's go into the next player. Let's go into Terrell Lewis. Nick, if you can find his video or picture. Do we have a video of Terrell Lewis? Nick? Chris? I want to talk about this guy while they okay. Wow, we got a video. Now, this guy, man, listen, let me tell you something. When we picked him up, I was like, hold on. Is this the Terrell Lewis I think it is? Because that was one question I forgot to ask Alex. Because on the depth chart, we went on ESPN and looked at the current depth chart. He's they got him on the roster as a linebacker. And yes, he played linebacker in a 3-4 defense, which brings me to the question: are they thinking about playing 3-4 fronts, odd fronts? But is he going to play traditional linebackers? Are they going to line him up at will? Are they going to line him up in the middle? Are they going to line him up at Sam? I doubt it. I think he's an edge rusher. And I don't think people give him credit for what he's worth. I don't know. What do you guys think after looking at this guy on film?
Well, I think the main issue with him has been injury. So he hasn't been able to, stay on the field and, show that productivity. But I also think that he, along with, a couple of other guys coming back from injury or trying to make a name for themselves, are the reason that we didn't, stress bringing in a defensive end or, stress signing just a guy that's been out on the street.
I think we may have us something if they do what I think they're going to do, and I line up in some odd fronts and give some different looks out there. I'll tell you something interesting I heard today on 670 to score. Dave Wanstead was on there with those guys, and he went out to the field, and he had a chance to sit down for a while with Eberflus and Poles, and they told him some stuff. But what he was comfortable with reporting to the base on that show was he said that and this is different from what I understand of a traditional 4-3 to look like. In the one that I played in college, when the man in motion moved and the nickel cornerback moved with that man in motion, that was a sure enough indicator that there was a man coverage there. What he described on the score was that is not the case. They are bringing disguises. They are bringing a different look and different fronts to really confuse a defense and give them something extra to think about, just to give them that extra 1 or 2 seconds to get to the ball. I know that a guy like this isn't your traditional edge rusher that an Eberflus would want as far as height and weight. But if you want to do some odd fronts, he's the kind of guy that you want.
Well, if you look at all the players that Poles has signed and, stocked up for the Eberflus to play with, they're all positional versatility. They got fluidity, and they can play, 3 tech. They can play 5 tech. They can play nose. They can play edge. If they want to run out a 3-4 front, they got the linebacking core that could do that. So that versatility, I think, is something that they are, focused on developing.
I really like this guy, and when I saw him come across the waiver and they grabbed him, I was excited, and I knew that in a bad year, and this what it was. Last year was a really bad year. They used their waiver wire priority to grab some guys and stash them and take their time with them to work on them and get them to the point that they wanted them. And just for this year, this upcoming year, and this camp right here, to see what they can actually bring to the table. And so do not be surprised once they put the pads on, you start hearing this guy's name. Don't be surprised when preseason comes around and you start hearing this guy's name. The dude is an Alabama talent. He's a 5-star athlete. He has not lost that ability. Yes, he had some injury problems when he was at Alabama. Not so much when he was with the Rams. What he was in a situation that he was never going to play. Not with the kind of players that they had on the roster. He was never going to play there. And when he did, he made plays. But I expect this guy to do some things and kind of stick out once camp starts and preseason starts. So you'll hear more about him, and just bank on that. So who's the next guy? We got Michael Ojemudia. Now this guy, Trip, you got any information on this guy that you want to talk about?
I don't have anything specific or particular.
Okay.
It's just he's a scrappy guy. I remember him coming up and playing because I don't remember him from college, but just the time that he's gotten here, he's always seemed to be smart, physical, just young, and hadn't got the opportunity to, crack a roster or lineup rather.
What you like about Michael Ojemudia? The first thing that stuck out to me when I started watching this film, when I found out they picked him up, I thought it was a steal. And I'm not trying to pump up every little player that the Bears put on their roster, but I keep everything in perspective. I don't just go out there and say, hey, everybody the Bears pick up, he's a stud. No, this guy actually was a stud. He was a stud not only in college, but he's more 6'2" than he is 6'1". Not only in college, but he started his rookie season, he damn near was their defensive MVP. He was really good his rookie season in freaking Denver. Yeah. And so me hyperventilating or sounding like I'm hyperventilating about a guy, no, it's warranted. And I'll tell you why. It's because this dude right here ended up being in a situation where they had a coaching change. And anybody that's been involved in any situation like that, you may fall out of favor with the next group of coaches that are coming in. And so to me, not knowing all the details and just looking at it from the outside, nobody else can figure out why somebody so talented ended up on a waiver wire. But to me, it screams this guy didn't fit in with the coaches. Maybe he favored the coaches that were there a little bit too much. And when the new staff came in, he didn't fit in as well. And he ended up on the waiver wire, and they used his second waiver priority to get him. They stashed him. Again, another stash, and I can't wait to see what he got in camp. Chris, you have something? Chris, I seen you come in here. You have something to say about this game?
Well, I pretty much you said what I was going to say. He did come in after his rookie camp, and Vic Fangio made him starter. He started right out of rookie camp. And then when they had the coaching change, he kind of fell out of favor and kind of been in flux since then. So, I was excited about him. I loved him in Iowa. Thought he was big. He had good speed. And he was an aggressive player. I was excited about the Bears picking him up also.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
You want to take the controls while I go out here and run outside right quick?
Oh, Lord.
I got to run outside right quick. Just take control right quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, y'all are in trouble now.
Something that to answer a question J2K did put up in the chat as far as Samuel's question, any number of players who have not accrued at least 9 games in an NFL season, up to 4 players who have accrued no more than 2 NFL seasons, and up to 6 players with no limitations on experience. So, yes, EQ and Pettis would be eligible for the practice squad.
Yeah, they changed the rules during the COVID season. So, which is a good thing. I think it opens up more opportunities, gives more good players an opportunity to be on our team. Back to Ojemudia, I think this guy is going to play a major role in our secondary this year. If Jalen Johnson is not around after this season, and some folks seem to think he may set out camp, which we talked about that, Trips. I don't think there's a chance they renegotiate before next year or during the season. Ojemudia, I would be comfortable with him, possibly as a starter. And I think he's going to have a say-so in the secondary this year. You back, sir?
I'm not against it. Not against it at all.
Everything good?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Hey,
I don't want to have to come down I-65, man.
Hey, man, you good.
All right.
Ojemudia is not another guy that's not to be sneezed at, because when the lights come on, they put the pads on, things start shaking out a little differently. He's looking like a low man on the depth chart. Or what are we talking about Michael Ojemudia for? We picked him up off the waiver wire. One thing fans are going to have to learn is to not sneeze at a guy because he ends up on a waiver wire and he gets picked up by another team. You don't know the whole story. The guy has absolute talent. He's got absolute talent. Whether or not he makes this roster, whether he cracks the lineup, there's a guy or two on this team.
He has the size. He was a good player.
Yeah, he plays the zone so well. Go ahead, Sam.
I'm sorry. I'm freezing up a little bit, fellas. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right, cool. I was a little
Okay.
delayed. But yeah, no, I was just saying that he has the size and that length that we like, man. And like you said, I think he's a guy that's gonna come in and compete for that third cornerback spot, that third edge cornerback spot on this team. I think that we're pretty deep at corner this year, man. I think there's gonna be a lot of good competition in training camp with the guys that are coming back from last year too, who played pretty decent last year without the pass rush. They played really decent in coverage though. They held their own, but no one can cover for 6 or 7 seconds, man. Defenses aren't designed to do that. So especially when you're playing a zone defense. So I think next year those guys are going to be better that played in the system last year, and it's just going to be some good competition. And I think Michael Ojemudia definitely has a chance to be a star on this defense because we don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Johnson. Though I don't know if you guys heard he's supposed to be coming back to camp next week.
That's to me, that's the most important thing right there. It's to me a move for Michael Ojemudia, a move to draft 2 high-level cornerbacks signaled to me that they were prepared for any situation that might evolve with Jalen Johnson, whether he demands a lot of money or not. They were prepared and they acted like that starting when they walked in the door. This could be a situation, Flus, and I'm speaking as I'm posed, looking at the budget and how much they were wanting to offer this guy. Hey, we need to start thinking about the possibility that he's not part of the team. He may have to get moved if he don't. I think this guy Post is going to stick to what his budget priorities are. And if Jalen Johnson fits under that, I think we'll have Jalen Johnson on the team. But if he doesn't, I don't think they're going to overreach and pay Jalen Johnson more money than they think they should. I'm not going to try to get in Jalen Johnson's pockets. I think he deserves his money. But if he doesn't re-sign with the team and a contract, I think they're prepared and have quality guys. And I think you made a really good point about the fact that when you have a team that can apply pressure, those guys in the secondary, they get to eat. When you have a long middle linebacker that covers space really, really, really quickly, the secondary gets to eat. And so you're not in coverage so long, and when you're in coverage a little bit longer, you got a middle linebacker that's zooming around the field, and he's probably going to get his hands on a bunch of balls, and he's going to tip them your way. And so it's a guy like Michael Ojemudia, who is accustomed to playing well in his own scheme, fits well if you don't re-sign a Jalen Johnson. A guy like Tyreek Stevenson fits well. A guy like Terrell Smith fits well when you have that kind of situation. So I'm good with Michael Ojemudia. I hope he makes this team one way or another. I think he just hasn't had his opportunity to really shine the way I know he can. And so
he was a 3rd round pick. Don't forget, he wasn't a lower round pick. He came with some credentials out of Iowa. So
okay.
I think like you said.
Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just gonna say, like you said, I think there's the argument to be made for, Poles preparing for the exit of Jalen Johnson. And I'm in no way poo-pooing on Jalen Johnson. I like Jalen Johnson, but if he's, commanding a lot more money than Poles is willing to pay for him, I think Poles has prepared himself by drafting, 2 cornerbacks and then signing Michael Ojemudia and then adding the depth from last year that we had. I think we're prepared for that, and I would rather, if we know we're not going to be able to re-sign him, to trade him and get some type of asset for him, if that's the case. I don't want to just allow anybody to just walk out of the door, especially someone of that caliber. You don't allow talent to just walk out of the door for nothing. So if that's the case, if we can, think of this. If we could, and I know we don't like dealing in speculation, but if we could trade Jalen Johnson and get a nice defensive end that we need right now, would anyone be opposed to that, knowing the depth that we have at cornerback, or that we feel like we have at cornerback right now, knowing that we may not be able to re-sign Jalen Johnson next year too? I think
I'd be willing to trade him for a pick.
Yeah, or either a pick, absolutely, that could turn into a good guy. Another
I'm
good.
good with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like speculating on stuff like that, man.
I know you don't. I know it. That's why I prefaced it that way.
I'm a pro player, MF, man. I'm a pro player. I'm gonna hit the podium and preach like a pastor and say Jalen Johnson need to get his money. But I don't want to. There's a chance that might happen. Where he could get traded. That I don't want to poo-poo that because it's a possibility. I just don't want to speculate on it. And I hope he does well. And I hope he gets his money. I just know this. They're prepared for in the event that he doesn't take the contract, and we'll see what happens, man. But I do like what J2K said. He doesn't mind that Jalen was there. He thought it was good that the young cornerbacks got a chance to get those reps. That is dead bleeping nose. That's exactly what you want to see. Like with Nate Davis not being here, it's good that your Tyree Carter gets those reps with the first. He's getting some continuity there. So for all we know, it's a plan for Nate Davis. You don't have to come to OTAs. And don't worry about it. We need to get some reps with Tyree with the first team, so he gets used to being over there.
I agree. Those guys are pros, and we know what they are in the pros. They've played
how quick his feet
for a
is.
number of years.
Look how quick this dude's feet is. Start it over, man. Please. Just please start that over. Watch how quick his feet are.
Big dude.
He's mirroring. And he's not trying to give up nothing. He's not trying to give up nothing. That spirit has not left this young man. He's just looking for his opportunity, just like DeMarcus Walker. He battles, man.
Yep. It's tough. He has the size. He can anchor.
He battles.
Yep.
This I know you can put on some Senior Bowl, drill reps and put that on camera and make it look like, oh, okay, this guy is really, really good. No, that was consistent throughout the game he played. Throughout the game, he battled and he didn't let nobody won a rep against him when I watched him. He didn't give up a sack when he was in college. There's something about a guy that doesn't even make the practice squad. What was he drafted? 6th or 7th round?
6th round pick. They never even risked it. They never were willing to risk him on that practice squad. Yeah. So they believe in him. They see something.
I mean, there's something to be said. There's something to be said about a guy like that doesn't make the practice squad. And
played point guard in high school.
That's where those feet come from. That's where those good feet come from. And he's a big dude too, man. He's wide body, big bottom. He can anchor. He has the strength. I don't know where he needed to improve. I know the level of competition that he faced at Southern wasn't exactly NFL caliber, but he dominated. If there's a guy that comes from a lower level of competition, you want to see him dominate. And like Nomad said, the guy didn't give up a sack. If that's not dominating, then I don't know what is. So when you come to the league and you gain your strength and get your bearings under you after a year, I'm interested in seeing him in training camp. I know Alex said he saw some bad plays maybe from him in OTAs, but OTAs, you can't really look at defensive line or offensive line in OTAs because you can't be physical. You can't touch each other. So you really can't tell, if he would have been able to, anchor or bull rush a guy, bull into a guy or, snatch a guy down. He can't do that in OTAs. But when we get to training camp, we're going to see what it is.
I think you got anything, Triple R?
The reps that he did get at the end of the season when Teb went out, he held his own. He was nasty out there. I'm looking forward to seeing him, get more of an opportunity.
Yeah, I think he's had a. If I had to guess, and I'm totally speculating on what's going on behind the scenes, I think it could have been a learning curve thing. I think when I did see him on the field, he was executing his one-on-one block, and when he got to the second level, sometimes it seemed like he was looking for where he was supposed to be in the zone scheme. When you get your initial contact, you got to climb up and get to the second person. Sometimes in the few reps that I saw, it was a time or two that I saw that he was looking for, where am I supposed to be at now? Which one of these guys am I supposed to be getting my hands on? And I think that's probably enough reason for a coach to say, you know what, we'll get him there. We'll get him there. And so that execution is flawless. And it was worth it to keep him off the practice squad with that kind of physical talent, to put him on just stash him on the bench and say, hey, we're gonna work with you in practice, and you're gonna be a Bear, and we're gonna get you where you need to be. And so that it just tells me something about the fact that he didn't make the practice squad. I know they got something for him.
Yep. And like J2K just said in the chat, man, he's also the first guy up with Davis not being there. So they have a lot of faith in him, man. They want to see him succeed, and they're pushing for him. So I think he has a lot to offer. We know he's athletic. We know he's strong. Like you say, maybe he just had to, I can imagine an NFL caliber playbook being a lot more difficult than something that he had at Southern. So
yeah, he's got a great. I know he's got a great foundation to work with. Everything that you want is there, and sometimes the learning curve is different for other people, man. You know what I mean? So I don't get too carried away with the fact that he hadn't played that much. I know he's gonna probably push for a guard spot, or at least a backup guard spot going into the camp. So I can't wait for it. What do we got? One more guy, Jalen Holmes, or do we even have anything? Here's a guy you talking about 6 years ago when he came out. Anybody remember Jalen Holmes?
No, I don't remember him.
Chris.
I definitely remember him.
Ohio State.
Yeah. I believe he played on the opposite side of Sam, all the other DB that's with Cincinnati now.
Real underdog.
Sam Hubbard.
Man. Well, Hubbard. Oh, okay.
I believe he played with Hubbard.
Real live underdog. And when I look at when they grabbed Jalen Holmes, I thought a lot of things. And I kind of, kept my eye on him, kept watching him on tape. And I'm just telling you what my process has been since they signed him and picked him up and put him on the team. I just kept watching his film and looking for anything that I can find. And my process is I tend to watch as much film as I can. Then I start watching interviews, start watching what he's saying in interviews, press conferences, what the other players are saying about him, what coaches are saying about him, and trying to figure out and put together why is this guy that is that talented ended up with the Bears in a waiver wire. Number one, think about the teams that he went to. Fully loaded Minnesota Vikings defensive line, number one. Number two, he went to New Orleans right after that. He played well in Minnesota. He just couldn't crack that. Minnesota had one of the strongest fronts in the league, period. They're just that strong. It was to crack that lineup, you're talking about a kid that probably expected coming out of Ohio State, I'm going to come into the league and I'm going to dominate and take over right now. No, you just got drafted to the Minnesota Vikings. They got at least 2 Pro Bowlers on the defensive line. No, you're not going to play really fast. Looking at more of his interviews and listening to other people talk about him, coaches, he definitely had a maturity issue going on. He couldn't accept that. And so off he goes to New Orleans. In New Orleans, is he going to start there with that defensive line? Come on now. One of the top defensive lines in the league. So he just really ran into two teams that really had situations that he really couldn't overcome and crack the starting lineup. He had a hard time getting in rotation. And then he ended up in New York playing for the Giants. And he ended up, I think he had an injury. I'm not sure. I'm not done with that homework, but I think he had an injury and ended up on a practice squad in New York. And so what I'm trying to get at here is, DeMarcus Walker came into the league in similar situations, playing on a pretty ferocious defensive front and on a couple of teams, and really couldn't crack the lineup. Also playing in positions that he's probably not physically like DeMarcus Walker is probably a better 3-tech than he is an end. Not saying that he can't make plays from the end. I'm just saying that I think he's physically more suited to play inside and play defensive tackle and play 3-tech. I think the same thing about this guy right here.
Yep.
And I think that once he figures that out, once the coaches figure out that's where you get the most value with this young man, I think they got them one in this cat. And he's another name that I would pay close attention to in preseason and in training camp. If they use him more as a 3-tech, which looks like they're doing, he's going to be number 90. Guys, look forward to this guy making some plays. I think his body is just now starting to physically mature. He played at about 272 when he was in college. And so he's like 283 now and probably pushing more like 293 from what he looked like. I mean, maybe about 290, but he's up there a little bit more. But so look forward to this guy playing on the inside and making some plays. It's hard to say what I'm saying out of my mouth right now based on what those highlights look like. But I'm telling you, keep an eye on this guy in camp. He might turn some heads.
Absolutely. Like we say, man, once those pads come on, man, it's anybody's game, man. And everybody's out there competing.
Sterling Weatherford.
Definitely looking for that.
Anybody got anything on this guy? I know this was one of Triple R.
See, I was very not very, but somewhat disappointed with Weatherford last season. Now, understanding that every time that his name came up as getting an opportunity to play or move up onto the active roster, he would always end up like hurt. I think he had an ankle injury or something, and then that was like mid-season. Then later in the season, when I was like, all right, well, what do these practice squad guys get? Let's start bringing them up. Then it was either the same injury or he got hurt again. So knowing that this regime, they don't play that. They want you on the field and being able to perform any and all times as much as possible. So, Weatherford I like his potential and his athleticism, but can he stay on the field? Or get on the field and then stay on the field?
What do you have on him, Sam?
Now, didn't Weatherford come from one of those UFAs? Did he play in?
No, that was Gates.
Gates.
Yeah, Weatherford came from Indianapolis.
From Indy? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know Weatherford, he had a good college career. He has athleticism, speed, and the size, man. Like Tripp said, he just can't stay healthy. I thought that it was because I thought he was the guy that played, that UFL, and maybe that could be probably, some of the reason because he had played a full season. But, man, you just never know, man, with guys, those nagging injuries. Once that you get over that injury bug, then maybe he can be a good backup linebacker for us in the middle or even at the wheel.
Hey, you know something? I don't know which one of you guys asked the question of, asked Alex, did you see anybody that you saw that was physically bigger or stronger? Mm-hmm. And when you guys, I don't know which one of you guys asked him that, but when I heard that, first thing came in my mind was Sterling Weatherford. Did he put on any weight? Did he get stronger? Is he because to me, I think 224 is a bit rich compared to what that looked like on film. To me, he looked more like 215, 218, highest 220. And I know that's not going to cut it for a wheel linebacker or a middle linebacker. You're going to have to be more stout than that. However, the thing I like about Sterling Weatherford and the projection for me is you love for a guy that can transition, that's going to transition from a safety who has a broader outlook on the field and has more to watch and pay attention to, and it narrows down a bit when you become a linebacker. So you don't have as much to pay attention to. You don't have as many keys to really follow. You can kind of narrow down your search and really hunt the ball. And so to me, that's always boded well for a safety to come down and play linebacker. I think that's a plus when you're a defensive coordinator. Somebody with safety eyes and understanding the speed and agility that can build into a linebacker's body. That's a plus all the way across the board. When you're a defensive coordinator, you got a guy that you can build out like that, dude. You got a unmanned missile out there, especially if he's got the head on him to be able to read and react fast. So you talking about somebody that's eager to watch this dude and see what he's bringing to the table after a year in the weight room and in the class. I cannot wait to see what this dude brings to the table. Maybe he's still a special teams player. Maybe he's upgraded his status. So this is why we highlight these kind of guys, man, because it's those little things like I just got through describing that really turns coaches on to a player like Sterling Weatherford. Anybody with that size, that height, and that ability to be able to put on the muscle. At 6'4", you know he can put on 235. It's just about a matter of how long is it going to take to put the right kind of muscle on.
And if he does not turn out to be, let's say, a starting, linebacker, special teams, that's a necessary position as well. So if he can, be a good special teams contributor, that's cool too.
Yeah, and like Nomad said, man, making that transition from safety to linebacker, is we seen that happen here in Chicago. One of the best to ever do it is now a Hall of Famer, and that was Brian Urlacher. So it can be done. I would love to see, him add that weight on, and maintain that speed and that quickness. And, we know he understands coverage. And coming from strong safety, he understands how to cover in the open field. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. I'm looking forward to preseason. I think that, a lot of teams don't like the preseason because they only want to watch their starters. Guys, we're going to be tuned in to the full game because we have dogs to watch for, and there's going to be camp battles throughout the game. So I think, during this preseason, it's going to be a lot to talk about, man, from, the start of the clock to the end of the fourth quarter and end of the clock, man. We're going to watch and we're going to pay attention to all of these guys because everybody has a chance to make the team, man. You just got to want it. And I think we got a lot of talented, athletic guys who gonna fight for their position. So,
you know what, man? And I'll end this by saying this: I guarantee he makes his team one way or the other, whether it be on special teams or however he makes a team. He's gonna be on this team, and they're gonna work on this dude if they don't think he's gained the physical prowess that they're looking for out of him. If they can't get him to 335 this year or something like that, or whatever they're looking for him, whatever measurement or level they're looking for, they're going to keep him on the team. He's going to play special team. But he ain't going nowhere, dude. He's going to be on this team.
So, like Tripp say, he just got to stay healthy, man. You got to stay healthy.
You guys got any final thoughts? Let's get everybody in the screen. Let's get Chris and let's get Nick in here. See if anybody has any final thoughts about everything. Starting with you, Sam. What you got?
That was just a good show, man. I thought Again, thank you, Alex Shapiro, for coming on tonight. Thanks to everyone in the chat. I see we got a lot of new people I've never seen before, and Armando, Sun Taurus, who else? What's that?
T3P.
T3P. Yep, T3P. I've never seen you guys in the chat. Welcome. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. We're going to be on talking Bears all night, all the time, all at Nomad at night and Nomad live, twice a week, and maybe some impromptu shows. So I'd love to see you guys back.
That's right. Trip.
Thanks everybody for the support. Thanks for tuning in and participating. Good looking out on the MFer in the kitchen spots. Appreciate the love. Working on those menus as we speak. And if you're not familiar, on Sundays, Nomad at Night, where we get a little more adult and a little more wide ranging with our topics, even though it's still, about the Bears. So Sunday nights, make sure you are down with Nomad at Night. And if you got little sensitive ears, get those little so-and-sos out the room.
Good job cleaning that up. Chris.
Yeah, he cleaned it up just in time, didn't he? Yeah, man, I was real glad we could get Alex Shapiro on that. He's an insider, and when guys can offer their insights with his knowledge and experience, it's always a plus. So I enjoyed having him, and thanks to him from all of us for being here. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Stay tuned for some good stuff Sunday night from Nomad at Night. Shout out to my boy Nick, who ran the production tonight. He did an excellent job. Yeah. And I just sat back and looked at my phone for 2 hours. So, good show, though, guys.
Great. Nick.
Great show. Y'all did excellent. I love the audience that's growing week by week. You guys are fantastic. Keep it up. Great chat engagement. I hope it gets even better next show. Nomad at Night is going to be fantastic. I hope you guys come and watch us.
Hey, Nick. Great job. This is so let me remind everybody, this is Nick's first time producing the show by himself. And you know what? I knew he'd do a good job. It was just a matter of whether he wanted to or not, and he did it. So he's got that one under his belt. Put that tool right there on your hip, dude. You did it all by yourself, man. And so, hey, we're gonna have these other guys that are on the show right now. Everybody's gonna produce. We're gonna be like Flus and Pose, man. We're gonna have dudes with position versatility. You're gonna have dudes posting shows. You're gonna have dudes producing. You're gonna have people slapping people around on the screen. It's gonna be all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But hey, man, in all seriousness, man, good job, Nick. And thank you for everything, the technical support and the graphics and putting everything together. Samo, you guys know I love y'all, man. Triple R. Hey, we becoming a family. We becoming a family like we're supposed to be. And all that means to me is the more tighter we get, the better the content that we provide to the fans. So for everybody at Nomad Live and the Nomad Network, set your notifications for the Nomad Live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central. Set your notifications for Nomad at Night Sundays at 8 p.m. Central. And we'll see you guys Sunday for Nomad at Night. Peace.
Salute.